On this episode of Muscle Car of the Week, we are not coming to you from the Brothers Collection because it's time once again for viewer mail. Today we're here at V8 TV Central in our shop, and we like the fact that we get a lot of really good comments from viewers and emails from viewers about our Muscle Car of the Week show. And we appreciate that most of these are also very civil, but every once in a while we might make an error or find something that we want to clarify, and that's what we're up to today. So the first one, we've had polarizing feedback comments on the 1965 Malibu SS convertible that we featured a couple episodes ago, and it was painted in a color called Evening Orchid Metallic, which is light purple, almost pink. And some of the good feedback was, one person said, "My grandmother has the same hair color, and she also has SS hubcaps on the wall of her dining room," which was pretty funny. We also had somebody say, "Evening Orchid is cool, better than Panther Pink any day." And we had about an even split of people who thought Evening Orchid was good or Evening Orchid was not a suitable color for a muscle car. Just one of the debates we get on this show. Speaking of other feedback, the 1968 Plymouth Roadrunner, in which I mistakenly said that this car was a hardtop. This one is a hardtop, which was an optional body style over the base post sedan. And I will own that mistake. The car is actually a pillar post coupe, and we had some literature that said Chrysler had referred to these cars kind of interchangeably, but at the same time, it was an option to pay extra to get the hardtop, and everybody let me know, and I appreciate that. So, like I said, we own that mistake. We screwed up. It is truly a post coupe and not a hardtop. We did get some feedback on smoking engines. A lot of people said, hey, that car has a problem. It might be smoking. The Roadrunner did a little bit, that Evening Orchid Malibu. The bad one that was most obvious was the 69 Roadrunner A12 car that was green. And there's a lot of reasons why these cars might be puffing some smoke. Some of it is actually steam. These cars don't really get driven enough when we shoot them sometimes to warm up to full operating temperature, so you might be seeing some steam coming out of the pipes. Another thing is that these cars a lot of times have been sitting quite a while, so there is oil poured down the engine in the cylinders to keep them freed up. And some of these cars might have only recently joined the Brothers Collection, so we're not sure about how they were stored previously to that. And it does take quite a while to burn off engine oil that's been poured down a cylinder. Another thing could be that some of these cars are getting up there in wear. You know, some of these are all original cars, so maybe they were driven hard throughout their previous life, and maybe they just smoke. Maybe it's a valve guide thing, maybe it's a ring thing. Then there are also other cars that are fresh rebuilds, and maybe they use parts that haven't seated yet and puff a little smoke. So yes, it's true, you will see every once in a while a muscle car puffing a little bit of smoke, but the fun ones are like this burnout where we see this Chrysler Hemi blowing an orange cloud of smoke because that was actually rust in the pipes that blew out when we did our burnout. Next one, people always ask, how do you choose which cars to feature on Muscle Car of the Week? And I will tell you that we try to present a wide variety of cars, but they're all from the Brothers Collection. We're way past episode 150 right now, which gives you an idea of how many cars are in the collection, and we still have a long way to go to feature all of them. So these are cars that we're not out at shows randomly picking cars. They're all from the collection, and if you pay attention, we try to present them in such a manner that we might have a different manufacturer, maybe not every week, but we try to mix them up. We definitely try to mix up different colors and different styles of cars so that you're not watching the same thing over and over. And even though there are a lot of cars in this collection, there are some cars that are kind of similar, but we try to mix those up. People do make requests for cars. If that kind of car is in the collection and it's a good version of that car, we'll try and feature it. People have been making requests for cars that are not in the collection, unfortunately, like a Mustang 2. So for the one person that requested a Mustang 2, we don't have one. We got a few emails and comments about dog dish hubcaps, and people are saying, hey, what's with this really cool muscle car and these painted steel wheels and these little tiny hubcaps? What's the story on that? You know, everybody thinks that a muscle car should have flashy wheels. And a lot of that is because of what we call day two modifications. A lot of these cars were bought brand new from the dealer with a steel wheel and that little hubcap because the buyer of the car knew that on day 2 he was going to ditch those wheels and put on a set of Kragers or American Racing or Anson or some kind of cool wheel from back in the day. So to properly restore some of these cars, if it's known that it came with dog dish caps, then the dog dish cap should go back on. And that's the reason why you see so many of them, is because people bought them because they were cheaper than springing for dealer installed or the factory optional fancier wheel. Okay, in episode 55 we showed a 1969 Camaro Z28, and there was a comment about how the Z28s were all supposed to have factory installed bumper guards, because the rumor is that these cars sat a little bit lower than a regular Camaro and they violated the federal regulation of bumper heights. So GM resolved that situation by installing a bumper guard, which effectively made the bumper height higher even though the car was lower. I don't know if that's true. We did find out that those bumper guards are part of a regular production option from GM, from Chevrolet. It was code V31 and V32 for the front and back bumper guards. So I don't know if that's true. If anybody knows for sure, they might be able to chime in, but I'm not sure that those bumper guards were federally mandated. A lot of people like to share cool stories that they've had with muscle cars. This one I thought was kind of neat. An individual named Tom Jones, and probably not that Tom Jones. And Tom Jones writes about the Hemi Superbird feature we did. As a kid in the summer of 1970, going to stay with my aunt and uncle right outside Lynchburg, Virginia, during school break, he remembers seeing at least one of 3 different colored Superbirds pretty often roaming the streets. And when he went to town in Lynchburg, he would see sometimes all 3 in the same day. Well, that means you lived in an area that had either a dealer that got several of these cars, but that was back in 1970, and I don't think you'll be seeing 3 different colored Superbirds driving around on any one day. It's kind of a cool story. Thanks for sharing that. Regarding the Studebaker Avanti feature we did, somebody mentioned that in the story I refer to this car as an example of the Coke bottle styling. This is a textbook example of a Coke bottle design. And somebody pointed out coincidentally that the designer of the Coke bottle was Raymond Loewy, the same guy that designed the Studebaker Avanti. So of course it looks like a Coke bottle. And finally, we did a feature on a white 1970 Hemi Cuda convertible, and somebody pointed out that I referred to the convertible as having a convertible top. And they said, this guy must be from Michigan, the way he says, it's got a convertible top. Close, but no cigar. Definitely not from Michigan. From Chicago, which is pretty much right there anyway. So thanks for providing the feedback on all these things. Thanks for being civil in your feedback. It's nice that we can have these nice discussions without name calling. We always appreciate that. You can learn more about Muscle Car of the Week from our website at musclecaroftheweek.com. See you next week with another car from the Brothers Collection.